So, ladies and gentlemen, right about now, we're ready for our first speaker, who is going to be taking us through the topic stress management, coping mechanism, burnout, and self care. And I'm so interested in this topic because it is more about mental health, and how we can take care of ourselves. And to deliver this topic is a mental health professional and founder of Lola Voice, the person of Lola Oguntade. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, drop in the comment section and tell Lola how special she is to us, and we're so happy to have her. Lola, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you have the floor. So you have 15, 20 minutes.
I'll try my best to, to even manage my
Enjoy.
time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you,
Bridget. Thank you.
Lola, for being here. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Pat. You guys are doing an amazing job, from your staff to the client that gave a testimony. So I didn't come with any slide. I came, natural. I have some things jotted down, and I'm just going to be free flowing technically. When we were all younger, right, we wanted to be adults so bad. I'm not sure about you, but I wanted to be an adult so bad. And now we are all adults, we are all grown. We are juggling multiple roles, right? When Bridget was sharing her story, she spoke about coming to Canada with, I think she was pregnant all by herself, right? Some people came abroad with families, some people came with children. Imagine living the life you've known for a very long time. Some people relocated in their late 20s, mid 20s, early 30s. You probably have help where you're coming from. You know your way around. You know your way around. Even if you are 10 years old in your country, you know your way around. Now coming to a place where you are uncertain about what's going on, where you are overwhelmed with information, you are not even sure what you're doing is right, and it's a lot of people are trying to help you, but they are even overloading you with information, which, if you're not conscious about that, it accumulates to stress, right? Just from fear, anxiety, those are what accumulate to stress. It's going to be an engaging conversation, just so I can have a sense that, people are following me. Is everybody on the Zoom link? Are they immigrants? Have they relocated before? Or we have a blend?
I think most of the participants are immigrants, and we have some people back home that joined us.
Okay, that's fair. So we all understand the struggle of just coming into a place new, over with little to no information. And I didn't come with any book definition or anything like that. Like I said, I'm going to be giving practical examples. And practical example, one of it is, we all growing up wanted to be adults so bad. Now you are a mom, you are a wife, you are a CEO, you are a business owner, you have your 9 to 5, you have to show up at every of these roles, and you are still expected to perform, right? Some people even have social media, they have brand they have to manage, they have their 9 to 5, they have entrepreneur business that they have to show up for. And you can imagine just one person. And there are other people that they don't even have any of these things. Even if you don't have any of these things, you constantly start to feel left behind, right? Because we are, almost now everybody's watching every other person's life, and you start to feel some sort of like you left behind. So I'll just go into different ways at which stress can manifest, right? Stress can manifest in form of physical symptoms. It can also manifest in form of emotional symptoms, and it can also manifest in form of behavioral change, right? Physical symptoms can be as a result of headache, tension, sweating. Emotional symptoms can be as a result of anxiety, you're feeling nervous, irritability, fear. Behavioral change might be as a result of difficulty concentrating, changing in your sleep pattern. And I'll just ask like a brief question. Has anyone here ever experienced any of those symptoms at one point or the other, you know, as you journey through life?
Yes, many times.
Okay, good. And we are funny people, right? Some people say I'm okay. I'm just a little bit stressed. Stress is not a little bit. Stress is big deal. Stress can trigger physical symptoms. Stress can lead to, if you're not very mindful, it can lead to hyperthyroidism. It can lead to different things. And there are different types of stress, right? There are relationship stress, there are financial stress, immigration stress, policy stress, family stress, even parenting stress, new mom, right? And even sometimes the type of stress we experience doesn't have to be bad stress all the time. You could be planning a wedding. A wedding is a thing of joy, right? But just the stress of putting things together is stressful. I'm even sure these events, planning, logistics, and everything, there are stress that are involved in putting something like this together. I saw that you had like physical and outdoor event. Those kind of things can be stressful too. So sometimes they are like positive stress and they are negative stress, right? So one of the first thing that I'm going to be saying as a coping mechanism for stress is the first thing first. As a person, you have to be able to take mental notes and identify your triggers. Identify your triggers. Once you are able to identify your triggers, and what do I mean by identifying your triggers? And triggers, sometimes people stress you out, right? It could be when I talk to this person, I just feel some sort of fear, I feel some sort of anxiety, I just feel stressed, I just feel nervous, right? Now this is not even an activity, this is somebody that is causing you stress, right? So that person could be identified as a trigger. As an immigrant, you are maybe trying to find your food, unemployed, everything. Now you're saying, oh, the only job I have a job that requires me to work 16 hours, maybe at the factory or somewhere, right? 16 hours, no sleep. You're not used to something like that, right? And when you start doing that, that job could be identified as a trigger. I'm just going to throw one question out there. I just want to be sure if you guys are following. Can anybody just identify one stressor for me as you navigate through life? One stressor, if you understand what I meant by how I defined stress or stressor, I mean.
Um, for me, when I commute to work, I
Okay.
like work. But if I have to commute to work back to back for like 2 or 3 days, I'm already feeling stressed, and I know
Okay.
that because I'm creative. I'm not able to write or focus, on
Mm-hmm.
creating anything because mentally I'm stressed. So I need to
Mm-hmm.
like clutter my mind to be able
Mm-hmm.
to and do self care routine to be able to
Mm-hmm.
get back to normal self.
Okay. That's good. Driving, commute, overworked, kind of. If I understand what you're saying, that could be
Yes,
identified as a trigger. And now we're saying I'm no longer commuting from for 3 days a week. I want to stop to like one day a week. That's you identifying your trigger and managing your stress. I see your hand. You have your hands up. You can, feel free. You can tell me one of your stressor.
Okay, I remember. Thank you very much for having me. I remember when sometimes when I feel confused, like when you don't know what if you're doing is correct or not, and then you're just doing something, and then it just piles up, and then it comes to
Mhm.
you as stress.
Yeah.
You, I think most immigrants will understand what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
especially
we all do. So
market,
it's
sometimes you do things and you don't know if, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Am I overdoing? Am I not
Mhm.
overdoing? And
Mhm.
it
So
piles
that's
up.
why I made mention of being overwhelmed with information. I came in as an international student. So sometimes when I write my assignment, I'm even crying because I don't know if I've written the right thing or the wrong thing, or they say something. I'm just overwhelmed. Different people are telling you different things. So it brings that confusion. And if you're not careful, you're going to have fatigue, burnout, and brain fog, right? Brain fog is you instances where you want to write something, you know what you want to write, but for some reason your brain is not just clicking, it's not just working as it should work. It could be something as you can't even spell basket correctly. You know how to spell basket, but for some reason your brain is fogging, or you're constantly not remembering stuff. Something as, where did I even put my phone? And you just all of a sudden start rambling and just feeling confused. How do we manage stress? Stress can be managed through different activities. That's why the first thing is even identifying that you are stressed and also helping you understand that stress is not a just. Stress, if not properly managed, can lead to high blood pressure, can lead to hyperthyroidism, can lead to physical sickness, can lead to blood clot, can lead to different things you would not even, because when you're stressed, what happens? Physical symptoms. You start having difficulty sleeping. When you're having difficulty sleeping, you start having fever. When you start having fever, you have poor appetite. That means you're not eating well. When you are not eating well, you are not even moving well. You're not productive. So that way, before you know it, is that when you are not eating well, your body is already, you are already doing damage to your body. So there are different ways to manage stress. The first one is physical activities. I know we now live in a world where, we are talking about physical activities. And you don't have to be a gym girl. That's what I tell people. You don't have to be a gym girl or a gym man. Just know what works for you. Sometimes something as easy as just taking an evening walk, just to say, I need to take this walk just to clear my clear my head. I'm sure you've had that time multiple times. It works. Regular exercise, having a routine. The world is right at our fingertip right now. You can turn on you don't even need a TV, your phone, YouTube video, cardio exercise, core exercise, whatever it is, just make sure you're moving your body. Uh, Another thing I typically recommend, please and please and please, is important, even though it might look like it's not, decluster your space, make your space clean. You can take a mental note of maybe when your room is not, where your beds are not laid, your rooms are dark, your blinds are covered, you you are in your feelings, right? And check, also take a mental note on when you say, let me clean my room, let me wash my bathroom, let me clean the plate, let me clean the dishes in the sink, and just see the difference in how that affects yourself and just your holistic approach generally. Also, deep breathing exercise. Not many people are familiar with that, but yes, we have University of YouTube. You can always do that. And there are different. The third thing is lifestyle adjustment, where Bridget was talking and she made mention of the importance of social connection, right? When we move abroad, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to mix with Nigeria." No, you need people. Life is not to be done alone. You need people, and social media is not real life. You need to say, "I want to go and greet this person. This person is coming to greet me. I'm going to the church. I'm going to the mosque." You need that social connection. Self isolation can lead to different things. We're not even going to go to that, right? When you are isolating yourself, it means you are sitting alone in your thought. So, and even when you are having negative thought that you're not skilled enough to rewire your brain to bring yourself out of that place, before you know it, you might just need an information. And one thing about abroad or where we all live, information is key. You might be you might think your problem is as big as this, and someone just say, "Oh, you can go online, click on that," and that's it. So information is very, very key. Ensure you are building that social connection. And that's why we have this foundation and, helping new immigrant, because to be honest, we all need that. When I came in, I tell people, if it was someone that said come to America, I'm not going to greet that person again. But I said I was coming to America myself. So whenever I feel any certain type of way, I will just call myself and say, this is my decision. Just imagine someone made me come. I'm not sure we're going to be friends till now, just because of that first 1 2 years that no matter who you are, no matter how strong you are, no matter how equipped you are, no matter the kind of support you even think you have, you are going to feel it. You are going to feel it. Everybody, and that's one thing humbling about the immigration. It just humbles you, no matter what you have from, maybe only if your father is like maybe Darusha or something, then maybe. And sometimes it's not even the money, just even you being by yourself. Imagine you being by yourself pregnant. You don't have anybody to call, you don't have somebody to massage your feet when you're just gonna cry. I can imagine how much tears. So also another thing is time management, right? Most of the time we're stressed because there are things that we have to do that we have not done. Maybe procrastination, right? Oh, I'm supposed to fill this form. You have not filled that form. You're going to be stressed about it. So it's important to manage your time effectively and like maybe blocking your time first 2 hours in the morning. Let me get things I need to get done. And before you know it, you're done. So when you manage your time effectively, um, it helps relieve their stress. Also, it's important, this still bow down to social connections. It is important to build hobbies and interest, right? Build hobbies and interest. Always have something to look forward to. Always have something to look forward to. And I tell people, it's not money, it's not, sometimes it could be, even if you live by yourself. Oh, Friday night is my movie night. That means you're watching movie this night. Make it special. Buy popcorn from Walmart, put it in your microwave. Get a glass of wine, $7. Doing that thing for yourself, something for yourself. Hobbies. You can take a walk at the park. And I tell people, you have to leave your environment. You have to, yeah, being a mom and a student, tell me about it. Being a student alone, I told you I was crying every day. Now imagine having toddlers that you have to cater to. They don't know what's going on. And one thing about abroad, you would always have assignments. Nigerians, we don't really have assignment, right? We do tests and exams. Something is always due, constantly, every week, every day. You have something to submit, right? So talking about hobbies and interests, I understand, like, when you move abroad, you don't even have money for a lot of luxury things, and it doesn't have to be luxury. I tell people it could be something as going to the park, just sitting down there and just watching how other people are doing things. Because now imagine your own energy. You're probably depressed, you're sad, you have anxiety, and now seeing two-year old, those 2 3 year olds that are just trying to have conversation, subconsciously they are going to brighten your day. You're going to tap from their energy, whether you like it or not. Just going to a cookout, just going to, even taking a walk at the park, just seeing different people. Hi, how are you? You're going to tap from those people's energy. Remember, you're draining, you're struggling, right? So it's those little things. Also, I know we like great food, we like to eat, healthy diet also help. What we put in our body also help us manage stress. And the most important one, and this is where therapy comes in, is called cognitive behavioral therapy. And what does cognitive behavioral therapy mean? It just means your thoughts, actions, and your behavior. So it means, like, let's say we draw a triangle, you have your thought up here, right? Your thought controls your actions, and your actions control your behavior, right? Most of the time, when you're stressed, when you are overwhelmed, when you are uncertain, when there's this anxiety, right? You start to have negative thoughts, right? And when we are saying cognitive behavior, we want to teach you how to challenge those negative thoughts. So it is important to learn how to, because those thoughts are going to come, right? They are going to come. Let's say you're a student, you don't have money to complete your tuition, and you have to pay it before the 20th of this month. Today is the 5th. There's no English anybody want to tell you. Different things are just going to come into your head, right? You have to be able to understand when a thought is negative, because that thought ends up becoming an action, and the actions end up becoming a behavior. Please, is anybody following?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. So you have to learn to challenge those thoughts. And there are some things that, we've learned to challenge our thoughts. We've learned lifestyle adjustments. We've learned about physical activity. And sometimes there's something called radical acceptance, knowing what you have control over and what you don't have control over, right? What you don't have control over, if you continue to stress about it, worry about it, it just makes you sick, right? But when you know what you have control over, that way you can plan, you can strategize, you can work it out, right? It maximize your stress. So you have to be able to do check and balances and say, for example, let's say Trump is the president of America and you're worried about that. You have control over that. You do not have control over that, right? Okay, what can I do? What policies favor me, right? You work with what you can work with. You've accepted that. So acceptance is very, very big. It makes things easier. It makes life easier for you, right? But if you are still fighting what you cannot fight, you're just going to be stressed. And like I said, stress is not good. And one of the last thing is no, second to the last, I would say practice gratitude, right? Regardless of what's going on. Remember, there was a time you were at church ruling, fasting to even get that Canadian visa, and you got it, right? So there, even though everything is bad, there will still be room or space for gratitude. Like, oh, you're still alive. you're still breathing. Practice gratitude. Don't always see negative in everything. Train your mind to be mind positive minded, right? And the last thing I would identify as the coping mechanism is also, we now live in a world where we have this phone, right? Information. We are consuming left, right, center, good, bad, everything. Even though exposure is good, social media is great, it is important to limit your exposure. If you cannot limit your exposure, filter what you're listening to. Don't listen to people that will put more stress on you. Don't listen to people that will put more anxiety or fear in you. And that's why I said, the first thing I said is, please learn how to identify your triggers. There might be a blog that that any day you just open, they just post somebody just jumped from three-story building, somebody just burned somebody, something just happened. It's all negative news, right? You are subconsciously almost destroying yourself, because your mind now is just taking those information, no filter, no nothing, and it transport, like I said, thoughts, behavior, actions, it transports. So if there is a way you can limit what information you take in. And burnout, right? Burnout is as a result of stress. Burnout is mental exhaustion. It means I cannot even function again. Stress, I can still stand up. Okay, I'm stressed. Burnout, you are looking at your work and you cannot even do it. And that's accumulation of a lot of stress. That's what burnout means. Burnout means you have anxiety, you are detached, right? Maybe you are even a mom and you can't even mommy today. There are days where that happen. Or you are a wife and, I'm sorry, I can't even show up as myself, not to talk of showing up as a wife, right? Or as a student, or as a worker. I'm a therapist. I see patients, and there are days I'm like, you know what? Just imagine talking to over 10 people in a day, and you want to come home and you think you're going to talk to someone. You just want to just hold your mouth, right? That means those are signs of burnout, right? You've overworked or overstretched yourself for that day, right? So what are the things that causes burnout, right? We've seen motherhood burnout, driving burnout, work burnout, relationship burnout. Yeah, people get burnt out in relationship, right? What are some of the things that cause burnout? We have lack of social support, right? And that's why we've made mention of community uh, association at the beginning. Lack of social support, unclear expectations, right? Maybe unclear expectations. You might be in a relationship. You might think you're in a relationship, and to the other person, you are in a situationship, and subconsciously, before you know it, you did not communicate your expectations. Or it could be a job. Maybe you collected like a contract, they expect certain deliveries, it wasn't communicated clearly, and before you know it, they have other expectations of you, you have other expectations of them. And these days, people have expectations. You'll be surprised at what they expect you to bring to the table. Even as a professional, they have expectations. If you don't meet their expectations, or maybe the pictures they've had in their mind, before you know it, they start stressing over it, it can cause them burnout. Or you have a job, you have a 9 to 5 job, you want to go home at 9 to 5, right? But you have a boss that constantly keep you in the office till like 7 or 8. Your expectations are not being met. That's unfair to you, right? So those are the things that causes burnout. So what are the root causes? I would say poor boundaries, maybe difficulty saying no, roles confusion, compassion fatigue. And what do I mean by compassion fatigue? If you're in a social service field, let's say like what Bridget is doing, she's coming, different immigrants, different story. There are times where she's not even going to have the resources they all need, right? She can feel fatigue. She can feel burnout from that. That's compassion fatigue. Even nurses, right? Imagine you're doing your work as someone that is caring, but you're on 12, 14, 15 hours shift in a day. Before you know, you're going to burn out, work overload, right? So, how do we manage this thing? The first thing I recommend, or I typically tell people, is you have to know yourself. Self awareness. You have to know yourself. You have to know yourself. And there are two ways to that. When you know yourself, it means you can intervene early. So, for example, Pat said, anytime I drive 3 days to work, I feel very stressed, right? That's her knowing herself. So what does she do? Oh, this week I'm only going to do once a week, right? It's important as people to delegate tasks, right? Delegate tasks. Don't say, we know you are superwoman, you know, we are super mom, super wife, super daughter, super everything. Delegate what you can delegate, delegate what you can delegate. Rest as much as you can, and sleep. People brag, oh, I don't sleep. I go to bed at 1, 2. I don't know what you're doing, but it's important to have good sleep hygiene, right? Know the difference between going to bed and falling asleep. I typically recommend people that they should go to bed. They should have good bed routine, not just falling asleep. And I'm just going to quickly chip in that difference. Going to bed means you have a sleep routine. It means 10 o'clock is my bedtime. By 8 o'clock, I already had my dinner. 9 o'clock, I already put my skincare routine. I've worn my pajamas. I'm drinking my tea, right? My bed is laid, it's clean. 9, maybe I'm pressing my phone, reading a book, listening, just doing something chilled. 10 o'clock, my phone is off. I'm going to bed. That's me going to bed. But days where you want to fall asleep, you've eaten, you're on the couch, you're watching your TV, and when sleep comes, maybe 1, 2, you sleep there, right? Or maybe you are even eating, you sleep there, or you are even doing your assignment, you sleep there. That shows you have a very poor sleep routine. You're not sleeping well. You are not intentional about your sleep. Social connection is also one way. Another way is take real breaks. And I know as adults, right? And sometimes there's never nothing to do. You always have something to do. And when you rest, subconsciously, you start to feel guilty. It happens to me too. Like maybe on days where you are just lying down and you feel like, why am I not doing anything? Because you are so used to doing something, right? So it's okay to not do anything on some days. And you can have days dedicated to that. Maybe Sunday, I'm not doing anything. If you like, I'm not even cooking. Everybody want their food in the microwave, right? Be intentional about those breaks, right? And also, please, you live abroad, people are calling you from Nigeria, different things. They don't even understand what you are going through. You are not even fully settled yet. You are not even, people are coming to you with their own demands, and you have your own problem that you cannot even share with anybody. It's okay to say no. Everybody will be okay eventually. Everybody's going to be okay. So it's okay to say no. There is nothing bad in saying no. They're going to be all right. We've seen cases, I think about last year, we're just hearing cases of new immigrant nurses. They were just slumping and they were dying. It's as a result of accumulated stress. It's nothing. Taking back to back shift. That's why I said stress is not just, it's not a just, is a serious thing. And also with yourself, just learn to practice self-compassion, right? We are compassionate towards other people. We want to help other people. We want to be there for other people. Be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself grace. Extend as much grace as possible to yourself. It's okay to pause. It's okay to rest. And how do we recover? Take a full mental health recovery, right? Take a full mental health recovery. Create a personal care plan. Remove or adjust triggers. The first thing I said is identify your trigger. If there are triggers that can be removed, fling them out. If they are the ones that can be adjust. If there is a place where you have to establish your boundaries, establish your boundaries. If there is a place you have to say no for this month, say no for this month. Introduce joy to your life. Introduce joy to your life. Nobody really knows what you're going through. If you like taking your pictures, take your pictures. If you like wearing fine dress, wear fine dress. Be intentional about your joy, because one thing about when sadness or all these things want to come into your life, they don't ask for time frame. It just happen. You can get a news from wherever you are now that something bad has happened at home. You didn't plan for it. So be intentional about your joy, and and define your joy, please, because what gives you joy? Some people, they like going to the club, right? That gives them joy. They want to pop bottle. You might just want to sleep, please. You might just be someone that wants to sleep, or you might be someone that likes party. Just find your own joy. Define your own joy. And when we talk about self-care, right? Self-care is very personal and is ongoing. Is very personal, is very ongoing. what works for you might not work for someone else. You know yourself better than anybody, than any therapist. Just do like your own inward work, and be very protective of yourself as well. Be very protective of yourself, and how you're being protective is being self-aware, identifying your triggers, learning to say no, introducing joy. Don't let anybody stress you. People are chaotic. They just unintentionally or intentionally bring chaos to your life. And just take a moment to reflect. What is that? You know yourself better than I do. What is that one thing that you are willing to change? Or yeah, thank you. And I will take questions. You can type it in, or you can, or even if you have like questions, or if you want to contribute, I would take that.
Wow, 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 wow. Lola, that was powerful.
I think
And
I've met you before.
everything, every really, you've met me before.
Maybe in Nigeria at
Thank
an
you so
event,
much,
but I can't
Lola.
remember who it
Yeah, it
was.
must be in an event or online. Lola, I feel like when you started talking, I wanted to take note, but it was like you dishing out nuggets back to back, so powerful. And yeah, I had to make personal notes because some of the things you said are so real and so true. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Even Bridget can relate. When you said, oh, even organizing these events would have gone through some stress. Yes, it's true because I know what she was going through, back and forth. As sisters, we were chatting back and forth. Oh, what's happening? What are you doing? So yes, stress is everywhere. Thank you so much for articulating our thoughts, because sometimes when people are going through this stuff, they don't even know how to describe it. But you've captioned it in a way that we can all connect and relate with it. And if I'm not home with anything, I'm going home with it's okay to say no, to establish boundaries. You talk about self compassion, the importance of us being kind to ourselves, all taking full mental health recovery, identifying our triggers. Those are powerful. Be intentional about your joy. That's the nugget for me. You said for us to be self aware, to reflect on who we are, when we talk about self care. And last, you said everybody good, they all right. And that's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lola. In fact, I'm going to look for another section where we are going to bring you on to talk. I'm going to bring
Thank
you
you
on
so much,
Instagram
Lola.
Live. I think I'll bring you on Instagram Live.